Today on JiK Labs, we're going to go over absolute cell references in your equations. Let's get started. Now that we have Excel up and ready to go, we've made a new sheet just to show the absolute cell references that we're going to discuss today. An absolute cell reference is when you make an equation, it locks that cell reference into place. So if you say C2, no matter where you copy or move this equation to, it will always reference C2. So let's go over a couple of examples of why you would want to use this and why is it going to be beneficial for you. So right here we've made this new sheet and it's pretty much items 1 through 6. They have a list price and then we have our cost and sell prices that we want to calculate. We have our multipliers for cost and our sell price off of list price. So we're going to come in here and go cost equals list price times this discount of 0.6. We're going to hit enter and that gives us $6. Well, what we want to do now is just copy and paste that down. So we're going to hit this little guy, or you can hit copy and paste, and we're going to drag it down. Well, wait a minute. Something's going on here. So I know this is correct. What's going on with item 2? So let's double click on that guy. Well, it's looking at the correct list price, but it is looking at the discount multiplier in the cell below that. Well, what's going on this one? Well, it's looking in 4, and this one is looking in 5. So what we need to do is, as when we copy these, we need to make it so that this equations in cost are always referencing C2. The way we would do that is we come in here, hit $, and $. That is absolutely locking C2 into place. So when we hit enter, we're going to come in here and copy everything down again, and we're going to see that the math is now correct. Item 2, C2, item 4, C2, and item 6, C2. Easy enough. So now we're going to come in here. Since the sell price is pretty much the same exact thing as cost, list price times the multiplier, so let's just highlight all of the costs and copy it over. That doesn't look right. Hopefully we're not selling things less than cost. So let's double click on this and see what's going on. Well, the equation in item 1 was B5 times C3. But we've copied that equation over and now it is C5 times C2. Let's look at this equation, see what's going on. We have on the original equation of cost, it was B5 times C2. And when we copied it over, it went to C5 times C2. Well, C2 was an absolute cell reference and that was locked in place. It doesn't matter where we copy that, it would still reference C2. So we want to fix that. But we also want the lock list price into place. So when there is a $sign in front of the column and row, both of those are locked into place. So let's delete these guys out real quick. Let's go back to cost. Let's look at this equation and let's put a $sign in front of B because we want to lock the column into place. Now if we move this left to right, B, it will still reference B. But if we move up or down, this 5 will change. Let's look at that right now. We'll go ahead and hit enter and let's copy these equations down again. And we're going to see nothing's really changed. But when we double click on these equations, we can see that B is locked in place, but the row was not. So it is counting up as we work down each row. So now let's take this and slide these guys to the right. Well, something's still not quite right because now sell price equals cost. So let's double click on this again. That's right. We have the absolute cell reference of C2 for the discount multiplier. So let's delete these guys. So let's come in here and let's delete those $signs out. So it's no longer locked or an absolute cell reference. But what we're going to do is lock the row in place. No dollar sign in front of the column, but a dollar sign in front of the row, which means if we were to copy and paste this guy down again, these numbers should not change. And we can see we've locked B into place. 5 will change. We've locked not the column in place, but the row in place. So now let's take these equations and copy them over. Well, that looks a little bit better. Our sell prices are now higher than our costs, which is always a plus. And let's double click on the sell price for item 1 and see what we're looking at. Well, we can see that we've locked B into place and we locked row 2 into place. So now that is the correct referencing of the cells that we wanted to lock into place for the sell price equation. We can see that we will always reference column B and we will always reference row 2 here. And so when we copy and paste these down, even if we added more items and just, and it actually auto-filled those equations in for us. So no matter what, it is doing the correct list price times the cost multiplier, list price times the sell price multiplier. It is always locked into place. So we talked a little bit about the absolute cell locking. That is saying it's always going to be C2, but as you can see from these equations, we aren't always going to do that. A case where we may want to always lock something in place is if you have multiple sheets or a bunch of data and you're always going back and looking at, let's just say in this case, C2 as a reference point. You can come in here and we're going to do equals times C2. Now you can come in here and type in the dollar signs like this, or if you come in here, put your cursor in there and press F4, it's going to add in the locking for you. So we're going to see that all of these costs are going to be the same because it's the same equation. Now, likely so. Now, let's just delete these guys out. Another case, that is locking a single cell reference, but we can also lock ranges. So let's come down to the bottom and we're going to equal sum, and we're going to highlight all of the cost. Same thing is true here. If you come in here, highlight these two guys, or highlight them and press function F4, it's going to lock that one cell reference in place. But if you double click, highlight at least a little bit of both of your ranges and then press F4, it's going to lock everything into place. So if we copy this guy over here, if we come over here and click on this guy, we're going to see that it is locking everything into place. So no matter where we copy this cell reference to, it's always going to be C5 to C14, the summation of that. Now let's come back in here and remove the dollar signs. And if you hit F4, you can cycle through all locked, F4 again, rows locked, columns locked, and nothing locked again. So let's just do that real quick. So we're going to copy and paste that right here into the sell price. Well, now you can see with the copying, it has updated the cell reference. Let's highlight this guy. We're going to cut him now, Control X, and we're going to paste them over here and hit Control V. So wait a minute, it didn't change cell references. So keep in mind, when you cut an equation and move it to another spot, it keeps the original cell equation ranges that you originally selected. If you were to copy, let's go back, if you were to copy this equation and paste it somewhere over here to the right, it would update the cell references. You'll find that cutting and pasting your equation will leave your cell references and ranges the same. Copying your equations to a different location will update the cell references unless you have them absolutely or locked some sort of cell locking into place. Hopefully you found this little trick helpful as you're working through your equations and trying to lock some cells that you need to be always referencing in your equations. Thanks for watching JiK Labs today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe and hit that little bell and join us next week when we do some more excelling. Thanks and have a great day.